about what we are doing in the community, and then we jump to the talk. Women Code community builds a safe environment for women to thrive in tech. So that's very important topic for us. Our mission is to empower women to be at the forefront of technology and innovation. Our vision is to empower women in their tech careers through education, mentorship, community building, and career service. We provide workshops, events to connect members with the industry, mentors, and fostering supportive community through meetups, conference, and raise awareness for more inclusive industry practices. We have our code of conduct at Women Code community that we are committed to a vibrant support community where women can network, share experience, foster professional relationship regardless of gender, age, visibility, invisible disabilities, technical and level experience, education, nationality, religion, anything. So if you see anything that doesn't follow our code of conduct, please reach out to us in our email and to our Slack, because that's quite important thing for all of us. Our projects are, one of our top projects is mentorship program, where we have a way to connect mentors and mentees, support in a long-term relationship for the year, or in an ad hoc approach from April to November. Also, we have open source projects actually, the website and the platform where we are building in collaboration with our volunteers and with the whole community. We have some book clubs, which is about one session in the month booking, where we read about technical books or any book that could be related to support our career journey. Writing club, if you are interested to write tech talks or tech newsletter or any topic regarding you want to learn how to do more to improve. So we also can that. If you are interested to join as a speaking and you never try, you just need to be support or find some support. We also have a space for that. We have a coding club, Python, and for CV Clinic is quite an important project that we have to support you to do some reviews in your CV. You can share, and we have so many people, mentors and just volunteers there to review and to give some tips so you can have a better, how to say, attract better with your CV. Other projects like mock interviews, you can reach out to our mentors, or you can reach out into our mock channel to ask if you are doing system design or any just prepping for an interview. We would like to support on that for sure. We have contributors group, lead code start groups as well. So that is doing also a very nice one, and it's kind of impressive. So just join, we share, we discuss. We have many people interested. System design track, it's starting soon. It's just planning, but it's a good topic. We would like to cover machine learning track, cloud track, and QA track. If you are interested or if you just want to know more, just join our Slack and you can find more information. For volunteers, all of you are welcome. We have many opportunities open. If you are interested, you can just scan the code and then you can look for more information and have our leader, Sonali, to guide you through where you can fit the best or where you would find a better support from what you are looking for. Basically, it's about organized events. You can give tech talk, contribute to our open source, blogging, newsletter, yes, and many more things, or even bring your ideas that you would like to drive here in the community. The benefits of joining, of course, it's a very friendly space. You can have a good opportunity for networking, learning, and mastering leadership skills. Nice perk for your CV and also for recognition. We also have some free tickets for a conference that we support or they're sharing with us. And yes, of course, unforgettable emotions. So we are here to learn and like to do that kind of good environment of this amazing community. Um, for First of all, of course, thank you for attending the session. Later, in the end of the session, please share your feedback. We are going to share later again. This don't go right now. You can just check later. But yes, thank you for joining us to help our mission and to be interested in collaborate and to learn with all of us. I'm going just to stop presenting now. And before I introduce our amazing speaker today, I would like to make a photo. If you would be interested, so it would be nice for us turn on a little bit your camera, and then we can take some photos just to show how many people are attending today, and it would be just nice for our memories. Let me just, I think I pinned someone here. Sorry. Okay, nice. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Nice. Oh, we have someone else joining, so let me go for another screen. Cameras on, please. Just 2 minutes. Don't worry. And okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Now I want to introduce our amazing speaker, Dr. Caroline Morton. She's a software engineer, epidemiologist, and a co-author of Async-Rest programming book. Caroline writes software tools for data pipelines, engines, and health initiatives, the world's largest community embedded biobank. Simultaneously, Caroline is pursuing a PhD in synthetic data generation for health data research, sponsored by SurrealDB. She also leads Yellowbird, a London startup, changing medical training with its virtual emergency room product, Clinical Metrics. The stage is yours, so looking and very interested to know more about it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for such a lovely welcome. I'm going to share my screen. Once I've shared my screen, I will not be able to see you. So please make some sort of noise if you require my attention. For example, if you can't hear me.
We will.
Okay, cool. All right, let me crack on. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for welcoming me to this session. Really excited to show you a bit about SurrealDB. This is the first of 3 sessions. So, and the next 2 sessions are going to be me and Alex, who's I'm lucky enough to joined on the call today. And he's really the expert in SurrealDB, but I'm going to be taking you through some of the basics, some of what I have used it for, and there is quite a lot of practical parts of this. So I've created some code that we can run along together. Okay, and there will be a break halfway through for some questions, but feel free to put anything in the chat in the meantime.
Caroline, just one thing. Your presentation is partial. I don't know if, okay, now it's good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, now it's good. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see the whole screen or can you see my?
No, now it's full screen. Oh, good.
Weird. Okay. All right. That's good. I'm listening for anything like that. So just keep them coming. All right, cool. So today we're going to be talking about what SurrealDB is. We're going to be going through some SQL-like queries so you can use it like a normal database. We're going to talk briefly about schemaless. We're going to be talking about vector search, which is probably my favorite part of Surreal. So I had to get that in to this. And then we've got lots of time for questions. All right. So who am I? I've already talked about it, or I've already been introduced. I'm a Python and Rust developer, and I'm currently running this startup, Yellowbird, now Clinical Metrics, and we make simulation software for doctors, and the back end is entirely in Rust. So that's really how I got plugged into Rust and also Surreal. Okay, and then publish this soon to come out async Rust book. Cool. So what is Surreal? So Surreal is a multi-modal database. So it's a database engine that's written in Rust. And that's why I introduced the Rust aspect of it, because it's a very cool thing to have a new database that's written in Rust. It combines lots of features from different databases. So for example, the traditional SQL queries that you would get in a relational database, but you also can access other types of databases, different types of data, like graphs and documents, but it's all combined in one system without you having to port between different databases. This allows you to query it in different ways, so kind of SQL-like, GraphQL-like, REST, and there's a variety of SDKs where you can interact with Surreal via, say, Java, Python, Rust, Golang. Cool. Oh, I don't know why the icon is coming twice. Okay, so why SurrealDB? Why do I really like it? So I really like the fact that it's got a flexible schema design, and that's something we're going to talk about. As I mentioned before, vector searching for the thing that I'm using it for is absolutely essential, but I also need the richness of the SQL relational database. It can do full text searching, and then I'm also really using it as a graph. Other things that you can use it for, there's a long list, and I'm sure Alex can answer some of these questions in the later sessions. But one of the things which is very cool is you can embed machine learning queries into the database. So how did I get interested in this? So as I was mentioning in the bio, I am doing this PhD where I'm trying to create synthetic or dummy data for large epidemiological research studies. So the problem with research studies when you're using like GP data or hospital data is you can't just release the data out into the world. It's obviously the most personal data you can imagine. And that stops people from releasing their code that drives their research as well. So what I want to do is really create an easy way to create data, fake data, that has the same shape as the normal, like real data, but can be released freely. And that really involves me having to counter two problems. One is this is the sort of data that you get when you visit, say, your GP. So you get a code and you get a term and you get lots of metadata around it. And we're also trying, so it's like some data structure. And then also we're trying to counter the fact that all of the different ways you can represent health data is arranged in a tree. And so what I want to, or what I need to be able to do is to navigate through that tree. So that is why I got interested in it. Please feel free to ask me any more questions. Like most PhD students, I can talk ad nauseum about my PhD. So we'll come back to that. But let's get on to the interesting stuff. So for our first, we're gonna work through this this problem set today. I hope it's going to be a bit fun. Essentially, the main sort of topic is going to be around celebrities, and we're going to try and find different characteristics of different celebrities and then do some queries around them. This first section is really about SQL-like queries. And so for those of you who are using Postgres or MySQL or something like that, this will look very familiar. So in this first step, what we're going to be doing is creating a table of celebrities. And the information that we want to capture is name, where they're from, so country of origin, their age, their gender, and then their profession. And their profession could be one. We know there's many celebrities who are actors and also singers and whatever, dancers and business people. So we want to capture all of that information. Okay, with me so far? I'm going to say yes.
Oh, good. Yes.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to talk through some of this and then we'll have a go. So the first thing is we're going to define our table. So this looks very much like normal SQL, except we're using this schemaful keyword. So that means that we're using a schema in this table. And we're defining the various fields that we want. Okay, so we're saying we want name in the celebrity table, so on celebrity, and it's the type string. So we get the advantage of it being very strongly typed. I mean, kind of SQL already has that, but it's using, you know, the straightforward word, so array, string, int, and it's kind of very easy to read, I think. Once we've done that, we can then add some data. So that's all you need to define the table. We run that, and then we can define, insert some data. So I've got 50 celebrities that we can use, and I've got some code that you can run. I will just say up front, ChatGPT did generate all of this, so I don't actually know if all of the ages and other things are correct, but let's pretend that they are. I'm feeling very inferior next to Beyonce if she's only 42 and she's achieved all that. So let's just pretend. So anyway, so this is how you would do it. So you'd create the celebrity and in the celebrity table, and you'd say, you know, name, Beyonce, country of origin, etc. And then in brackets, in square brackets, we're going to be using the profession. Okay, and we're just going to put that in as a string. Once we've run that and a number of other, so as I said, 50 celebrities, we're going to get something that looks like this. And this is the records of the celebrity table, and we've got all of that information. And you can see that profession has been transformed into an array. And as we saw before, those arrays are strings. Okay, so now this is your turn. So we're going to go to this. Well, there's two different sites to go to. The first one is Surrealist. So this is a sandbox environment that SurrealDB host that you can just have a play around with. I think this is much easier for us because we're not having to download or run Docker or anything like that. So you can just use it directly on the browser, and you want to click on the sandbox version of it. And then if you go to this gist, I've created that query, and you should be able to just basically pick it up, copy and paste it just down to the celebrities, and then run that. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. I'm hoping that you've got the stuff in the chat, and if not, I can put that in.
I've added that, Caroline.
Perfect. Right. Cool. So how about we just have a show of hands when you're done? Okay, so people are getting through it. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, just give it a couple more minutes. Nice. And I'll check the chat in the meantime if there's any questions. Sweet. Okay, so I will just go back to my presentation and you can just follow along with me. What I've got now, if you go onto that, just right at the bottom, there is a select query, which I'm just going to show you in the presentation. Let me just do that. Okay, can you see my screen, full screen again?
Partial screen, but yes, I think it's kind of full. I think once you go to the next slide, it would be fine. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've got our data in there. So now we want to query it in the same way that we would query it, for example, in a Postgres database. So in this query, we want to select, so we're using that keyword select. We're going to take the name, the age, the country of origin, and the profession from the celebrity. So that's the celebrity table. And we're going to apply some parameters to that. So we're going to say where gender is female and age is over 50. And then very much like SQL, we're going to then order by age. Okay. And I'm going to switch to Surrealist now so that we can just do that live. Now I need to just find the right window. Here we go. All right, cool. Is that big enough? Don't know if I can make it bigger.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Here we go. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do, so we've run this query. I'll run it. And if you come to Surrealist, you'll see that we've got the queries here. This is the top button. And then if you go to Explorer, that allows us to then click through the tables. We've only got one table in this instance, so we can click on it. And that's how I got to that that thing that I showed, the table that I showed you before. Then I'm going to go back to my query. Now I've prepared, so obviously I've got these queries already here. But once that's the one I showed you, and that's the one that's on the bottom of the gist. We run that, and then as expected, we get the name, the age of etc. of female celebrities aged over 50 in descending order. So top of the list is Meryl Streep. Okay, then Ellen DeGeneres, then Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, and it goes on. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So now we're going to do something which I find personally quite challenging to do in Postgres. The medical simulation software that I have been involved in writing, we hold a lot of data in JSON because it's huge data files, or data files, I say in quotations. And so querying JSON within Postgres can be kind of challenging sometimes. One of the big advantages, if you've got something like an array with Surreal, is that you can use this keyword inside. So this is a query that basically we're getting the name, the age, the country of origin, and we're saying, in that array of things that is their profession, they're a singer. Okay, and we've changed it slightly on this occasion. We're doing age under 35 this time, and we're going to order in age in ascending order. So let's run that. And one thing I just wanted to point out, like, this is so quick. It's just crazy quick how, and that's why one of the advantages of using Rust is it's so fast. So if you look at the query, it takes basically no time at all. Now we have all of the young singers, and this is where I start to seem really uncool because I don't really know who the first two are. Never mind. And we get to Justin Bieber. I know who Justin Bieber is. And yeah, so that's basically a cool little thing you can do. So we can use this inside. Cool. Would you like me to put that into the chat? This query.
It's fine. Like we can put it, or just you can continue. I can put there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would like to ask is where I think this all the information about these parameters and special fields would be available on Surreal documentation. So if you can probably now or at the end of the session point out to the location, that would be helpful for the
Yes,
audience.
absolutely. Yes, so there's extensive documentation, and maybe Ned or Alex could just put the link to it in the chat when you get the opportunity. No rush. Okay, cool. So we're going to move on now. And so now the next query is about, let's find all of the celebrities where the length of the array, so the number of professions that they have, is more than 3. So we want to find the people who have got many talents, and let's try and find who they are. Okay, so how we would do this is quite simple. So we use this, so we're going to just do name and profession this time. Again, we're from celebrity, that's the table. And we're going to be using this key, I don't know if it's keyword, but basically it's a function where we're calculating how long is the array in profession, that's the column profession, and we're just going to say, okay, it has to be greater than 3. So very short query. That would be kind of a bit annoying to do in SQL. Obviously, it could be done, but this is easier, very short. And number 1, Jennifer Lopez, followed by Beyonce. And I'll put that query in the chat. Cool. Has everyone got that working? Cool. All right, so I'm going to put a challenge out to you now. We've got the documentation that Alex has just put in, and I think we should just spend like maybe 5 minutes doing this, where I will give you the opportunity, or perhaps punishment, to find all the celebrities from the United States, find all the celebrities from the United States who are under 30, and then kind of a tricky one, find the average age of celebrities from different countries. So I'll put this on here. I'm not going to make my screen full size because otherwise I won't be able to see you, but hopefully you can see that okay, and let me know if you can't. So maybe if we just have a couple more minutes, unless everyone's finished already. Maybe give me a thumbs up if you finished. Okay, cool. Couple more minutes then.
Yeah, I managed to get the name and age, but not the average. But I only find the two, under 30 in US.
It's a maths function, but is it can't be mean. Is it mean?
And
Oh, somebody has posted it.
okay. Okay, we don't need to group it. Oh, okay.
So there should only be 3 celebrities under 30.
Should it be 3?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. I put less than. There should be 2. Less than 30 and under.
Okay. Okay, looking for math.
Just one question. We have to group by the countries and to find the mean age for each country.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let me go through it. So I think it will be a bit easier. Right. Let's go to on. I will, maybe we'll just leave it like this for now, just so I can switch back and forth between it in the coding. So let me know if that's bothering anyone. Okay, cool. So let's find all celebrities from the USA. So it's this first query. So select name, age, from celebrity, where country of origin is United States. So pretty easy. I'm assuming everyone got that. Then you move on to this one. I'm just going to switch to the live version now. Present something else, and let's go to here. Okay, can you see that? Okay, so it should be 2. So if we run that, and what I like about this is just like I think it's just a really nice design feature. Is like when you do that, it makes it look like that, just as pretty. And so if we do that, we get 3 people. So we know it is working. Okay. And then the final question, which is find the average age of celebrities from countries. We need a maths origin. So we, of course, need the country. We need the age. And we're going to just call this average age. And we're using this maths mean. Okay. And we're passing in age, and then we're doing a count. I just put a count. You don't have to do that, just so that we can see how many are in each country. That is not part needed for mean to work. We're not manually working it out. We're just using this function mean. From celebrity, we're going to order by the country of origin, order by, group by country of origin, and then order by number of celebrities. And when we run that, in 1.5 milliseconds, we end up with an average age of 47.88 from the United States, 35 celebrities, and then it goes down in descending order. Okay, once we get down to here, there's only one person. Okay, just in this data set, there's obviously more celebrities than one from Colombia. Just to be clear. Okay, all right, so hopefully you'll get something like that. I will put this just in the chat and then you can run it yourself. Okay, and then we'll move on.
Cool.
Okay. Was that a cool?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I live for as a presenter. Cool. All right, I can no longer see you, so please make a noise if you require my attention.
All good. All good.
All right, cool. So we're going to now talk about schemaless. So some people, I'm sure, will have used things like MongoDB or other kind of NoSQL type solutions, especially if you've needed to do something where you're not exactly sure what the data is going to look like, or perhaps it's unstructured in some way. I've used MongoDB in the past for like storing documentation from virtual patients. You know, you don't know what that necessarily is going to look like because users are entering it. And then, you know, kind of Redis and in the past, it's had to be kind of different databases where so you're sort of managing both your regular database, like a Postgres database, and also MongoDB, which is not always ideal. Sometimes there's a place and time for that, but let's just say for now, we want to put everything together. So imagine we're thinking about transforming our celebrity app into, or a celebrity project into something which is going to tell us something about social media. I'm really getting out of my comfort zone now as someone who doesn't know celebrities or social media particularly well, but let's just go with it. In this,
Caroline, sorry to interrupt you, but I think the presentation is messed up again, or is just for me?
okay, let me stop.
Yeah.
Now it's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Is it making up the whole screen?
Now it's full screen. Yeah, before it was a strange screen.
Okay, all right. So in Postgres, if we wanted to add say something about social media, we would have to define a new well, there's various ways we could do it. Maybe we make a new table called social media. Maybe we then have a foreign key that links them together, or maybe we update celebrities table and put in a column, and then, you know, do something like that. Maybe we're not sure. But one thing that we could do with Surreal, which is nice, is that we can then update the celebrity table, and we can set social media to a specific celebrity. So we actually haven't changed the schema. We're just essentially putting in more information, and so we can just basically chuck it in, and then that still allows us to query. Now we have to be responsible for, like in this instance, we know that Taylor Swift would be the only person who would have social media information. I have that information as the person who's maintaining this database. But so queries, you know, if you looked for all social media of all celebrities, you'd only get one at the moment. But it's still pretty cool because it means that instead of having to redefine our table lots of times, especially during prototyping or when you're gathering information, we can just put it in. And I think that this is a real superpower because it means that you're not having to maintain two databases necessarily at the same time and finding a way to link them. And I previously done a project where we were trying to put in like medical devices information. We weren't exactly sure what they were going to be called, and this would have been really useful in that instance. Okay, so if we do that just to prove it, I've just screenshotted this. So we can then say select name, social media, the Twitter followers. And then we want to find, you know, people who've got celebrities who've got Twitter followers over 100 million, and we can do that and we get Taylor Swift, which is not surprising. So the point here is as soon as we put something in with doesn't necessarily fit our schema, we can still query it. So that information is not just like lost and yes, you have it, but you can't actually access it. So we can have a play around with that at some point, but I think it's a cool thing that we should be using more. Obviously, right tool for the right job. Okay, so in comparison to MongoDB, so MongoDB, obviously lots of people will have used. They both support document-based databases. They both support schemaless collections and JSON-like formats. I just wanted to point this out. So on the left, you've got how you would do a query in MongoDB. And I think it's not particularly intuitive. Particularly the less than, which is this $. And then you can see that in Surreal, it's much more like Postgres, even though you are potentially, not querying, columns per se. You are in this case, but it's much more like SQL. Okay, so this is the halfway point and where there's an opportunity to ask some questions before we go on to query search. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have one question actually.
Oh, yeah.
So normally when we have RDBMS, you have two tables, the updates are quite fast, right? Because you have a key. And I'm just going to add, say, social media for Taylor Swift at that point, and it's going to be pretty fast. Is there an impact on performance if the size of the table is large and you're going to do an update on a JSON? It's as good as a JSON object, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's as good as a JSON object. Alex, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, so effectively, if you're using record IDs, which are the IDs in SurrealDB, it's actually faster than most other databases. It's the equivalent of a key value database. As you're just selecting one particular record, you're not needing to do a table scan or anything like that.
Okay. So even if we are updating one of the elements of that JSON, it would be still as good as just inserting or updating a row. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Because it doesn't matter how large the table is. If you're using one ID, it will go directly to that ID. It won't actually scan the table.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We've got another question.
Actually, you can go.
Ask a question.
Sure. So just to understand, so I know that you showed us like you showed the queries which looked like what do you call it? RDBMS, like SQL queries, but then you compared it to Mongo as well already. So is the data being stored in a relational format, or are we storing data in a schemaless format? Or does it not matter? Like, can we store data in either of the formats and use SQL to query it? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, so you can use both. So you can have it both schemaful and schemaless.
So will it be stored in different structures? So I'm assuming one, I'm trying to visualize it, like suppose like celebrities, right? So right now you've got a schema, so you've got a table for it, but I can insert another record in the celebrities table, which would be schemaless. It would be a different data structure, right?
So it would still be within the table. So if you went on to like Explorer and ran, let me run the query actually. Hold on, let me just, I didn't actually put this into my thing, but basically if you went to Explorer, you'd have like another column basically out here.
So just stored like a database, so is it like a table?
Yeah, exactly. So it would be an addition to the table.
So when I'm designing a database for this, am I thinking because I know for example with Mongo, they always recommend you to store similar things that will be accessed together, and not to think like in a transactional in a RDBMS format. What's the guidance with this? Like how, if I'm modeling data, how should I think about it?
So I'll answer my way, and then we'll ask Alex about the proper way of doing it. So I would always suggest that if you've got a table, you would, and that data is somehow related to that table, even if you don't have it for, say, every row, or you're not exactly sure, like, for example, with the social media, when you run it, it will attach to that. We've attached it to Taylor Swift, which exists on the celebrity table as a row, and then you can see it in the table. So that's kind of how I have used it in the past. Alex, do you have a more official answer?
Sure. Yeah, so there are two different ways of making, oh, actually 3 different ways of making relationships in SurrealDB. The primary is graph and record links. So the graph is for like complex relationships and can simplify your relationships, has more properties of relational database in terms of the referential integrity and all that kind of stuff. You have record links, which are kind of like MongoDB lookups, but without needing to like look up. It just kind of like goes directly to that record ID. And those are kind of like one-way connections. And then you also have the typical kind of like semi-joins, subqueries, and all that kind of things. So you can make arbitrary connections like in a relational database. It just won't be as performant. So in SurrealDB, you typically tend to write the relationships at write time, kind of design your schema like that. So it makes it easy for people at query time to work with your data.
Okay, just to follow quickly. So in this example, the celebrity example, suppose we had another table called movies and another one called celebrity details, right? Would you create it as different tables in this case then? Like add a foreign key between them? Is that what you would normally do?
It kind of really depends on you. One of the goals of SurrealDB is allow you to have the flexibility to do exactly what you want and exactly what fits for your use case. So you could do all of them. It will be equally fine.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Alex.
Just on that, so if we have stored that information as a document as well, we could have a way to match the table and the document.
Exactly.
And that you said that would be an additional column to the table.
Yeah, so in the example that I just showed you here, I'm basically, if you look at this, make this query big. I'm not just like stuffing information in without any schema, I guess, at all. Like it's still tied to Taylor, like the person Taylor Swift, and it's in the celebrity table. So we're updating the celebrity table. What Alex is also saying is that you don't need to always create tables. I'm just in this particular example, we already have some information about Taylor Swift. Please step in if that is incorrect. That's the way I've used it. Cool.
Yeah, there are many different kind of ways. So it's because we have the multi-modal, so you have the document style way of doing things, the graph way of doing things, and more transactional way of doing things. But I won't go into detail here because I don't want to disturb Caroline.
No.
I have one question.
This is 3 sessions, so we're going to have an opportunity to get into it.
Just because of the intro for me, when you talk about schemaless or with the schema, one thing I got confused is like, can we transit from one stage to the other, starting with schema, and then go back to no schema? How the data is going to handle that internally? Do I have to upgrade or not? It's just going to work out of the box.
It would just work out of the box.
Okay, so like I could start thinking as a relational and then evolve to not be relational at some point and have the mixture, as you say, I can do what I want.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Sorry if you can hear my dog digging in the background. So
we don't hear anything, so only your voice. All good.
Okay, cool. All right, so thanks so much for the questions. Really useful. So, right, can you see my screen again?
Half of the screen.
What about now?
It's still the same.
Yeah.
Super annoying.
Yeah, now it works.
I don't know why that is. It's so strange.
Your sound doesn't work, looks like.
Let me just I'll just reshare, see if that fixes it. It's the equivalent of turning it on and turning it off again.
Yeah, now it's working. Yeah.
Okay, what about this? Working?
No.
Oh, okay. What about
Now
that?
works. Wait. Now it's working. Don't move it.
Okay, you can see a whole screen.
Yes, full
Yes.
screen. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to be talking about vector search. So I love vector search in Surreal, and sort of generally as a concept, I just think it's a really cool thing. So just to go through, I know lots of people know what vectors are and vector searching is, but I'll just sort of briefly explain it. So basically, vectors are, in this instance, a list of numbers that somehow represent data. Okay, so a simple 2-number vector might be a grid coordinate on a map of where you are, but vectors can be more than 2-dimensional, so they can be in 3 dimensions, and then we have to conceptualize more than 3 dimensions, which gets a bit hard for our human brains to comprehend, but luckily the computers can do this for us. And so large language models, they tend to use, they use vectors under the hood, doing lots of complicated maths, and that's how they are able to find words that semantically mean the same thing, because basically they're closer together in space in imagine a 3-dimensional space, but it's many more dimensions than that. Okay, and that also allows them to find words which have different meanings because they're further apart. So like puppy and dog will be close together, but say puppy and spaceship will be far apart in this this vector space. Okay, so the way that I use to teach this is imagine a 2x2 grid, and we're interested in pairing people who are going to be dating or friends perhaps, and we're just going to do 2 questions. So do you prefer dogs over cats? 5 being strongly agree, 1 being you don't agree at all, strongly disagree, and then prefers lazy mornings. 5 you strongly agree, 1 you strongly disagree. And so we would ask some people these questions, in this case 3 people, and we can then use vector searching. Essentially, this is a simplification of it, to find the shortest distance, to find the most similarity between 2 different points. So, for example, if we were interested in this person who's at 2 and 5, finding them a friend, then we could measure the distance between the 2 other people and find this person is shorter, even though they've got different numbers. And this is really good for database. It's kind of hard to do in Postgres databases or SQL type databases, because what I would say is you probably have to come up with some sort of logic on what is more important, preferring dogs or preferring lazy mornings, and filter, and then do another filter to try and find who's the most similar. Because 2 and 5 for one person, it's not intuitive that they'd be closer together with someone who scores 3 and 3 rather than 3 and 5 the other way. So yeah, that's essentially vector searching in 2 dimensions. So in this case, we're going to do something slightly fun, I hope. We've got this questionnaire, okay, and it's going to be a 1 to 5 again. So 1 is you strongly disagree, 2 is you disagree, 3 is you're neutral, 4 is you agree, and 5 is you strongly agree. Okay, and what I want you to do is just read these 5 questions and write down in an array, and there's an example array at the bottom, where you fall on this. So maybe you score a 3 for enjoying taking risks and trying, you're neutral on that. So we'll just have 30 seconds to just have a think about that and write down where you fall. So you're looking to produce a 5-item array of integers. And can someone make a noise when you're ready for me to move on? Because I can't see you.
I guess a lot of people are done.
Okay, cool. So I will move on. All right. So now we're going to add this into our celebrities. So there is a second link, hopefully coming in the chat, which has got some code to create this. Essentially, it's the same celebrities, but we're also adding in this array. I'd recommend that you just reset the database and just run this again. It just make it a bit easier just for speed. So in this case, we've just defined this answers field, and it's an array of integers. And how have I come up with this data? Well, I basically asked ChatGPT to assess our 50 celebrities, ask these questions, and come up with a score for each of them. So again, it's not massively accurate, but I think it will still be fun. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to switch my present something else. Here we go. Okay, so if you just click this, reset the sandbox environment, and then we're going to go down here, and there is the same celebrities with these answers, and let's go all the way to the bottom. Yep, so we've got all of them, and it runs very, very quickly. We can then move to the Explorer, just check out the celebrity table, and we can see we've got this array, and if we hover over them, we can see what the answers are for any given celebrity. Okay, cool. Is everyone able to get access to the code link? Awesome. Okay, so now we can query this. So we're going to use something called vector search. So we're going to be working in 5 dimensions. So because we've got 5 answers, and we're going to be doing a query, and I'll show you the query. So I answered 4, 4, 4, 4, 2. And I've done this tutorial several times, and I always come up with the same answers, which is reassuring to me. I'm at least consistent. So in this case, I am setting this as my answer. I could actually just change this. I put it as celebrities, but that's actually probably a bad name. It could be something else. And I'm doing select ID, name, and then I'm using this, again, it's an inbuilt function that Surreal has. And we're going to use something called cosine's similarity. It's basically a not very difficult mathematical equation that works out how close things are in this 5-dimensional space. In this case, how physically close, if you were to do that, they would be to each other. Work out the distance, and so we're going to select this as disk. Now I'll just put it as disk so it's a bit more comprehensible, and we're going to do it from the celebrity table. We're going to order by distance because I want to find the people who are closest to me, and I'm only going to limit it to 3 people because I'm only interested in the top 3. So we run this, and as always, I am most similar to Harrison Ford, followed by Ellen. and Charlize Theron, which I'm not sad about, to be totally honest. So yeah, so that's, you can do something. So what you need to do is you need to take this query, put in your own answers to those 5 questions, and then why don't you put into the chat, or if we've got a poll going, who is the which celebrity you are. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And if somebody who knows how to do it can set up a poll, that would be awesome.
I think Ned said that he would do the poll, right, Ned?
Just going to put that in there for you now.
Thank you, Ned.
I don't know, but I have completely different answers from you, and I still have Harrison Ford as the top one.
So what was interesting when we did this with the Surreal operations, marketing, and who else was there, Ned and Alex? And basically the people who were on the same team all ended up very close to each other, which was kind of interesting.
I think it might be easier if people just drop the celebrity in the chat, because it takes a while to add in all of those names.
Yeah, okay, yeah, of course. I thought it was free text. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to go Harrison Ford. Oh, Meryl Streep. That is pretty fabulous.
Just for fun, I put the top 3 also.
Yeah. Okay. So while you're all doing this, for the people who've been able to do this so far, now the final bit to do is let's combine, oh, Jennifer Lawrence, she is hilarious, that would be amazing, is what celebrity from the UK are you most similar to? So see if you can alter this, combining what we did before with vector search to
No, it's Elton John.
okay, so it should look something like this. So what I've done is I've just added in country of origin into the select statement, and then I've added this where country of origin is United Kingdom. Limit it again. And Adele. Again, not sad about that.
I have a 2 times Emma Watson, so kind of interesting. That means I am really, really similar, right?
Oh, I think that probably means that you didn't clear the database or you ran the query twice.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. Okay, I can reset all of it. Okay. Ah, now works.
Cool.
No results found. Okay. Not a match, Ned.
Yeah, I think you need to reset the sandbox and then. Okay, all right. So let me continue. So I think that's pretty much the end of it. I just have a title slide left, and I'm at time, I think. So if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Ask a question before that I miss. So he wrote, is this in memory DB like Redis, on disk like relational DBs, or hybrid like Ignite?
It's a great question. I think I might lead that to Alex. As far as I know, it's in memory.
Yeah, so the answer to that is actually yes. And the reason for that is because SurrealDB has separated compute and storage. So it has an in-memory version. It has a WASM version. So the sandbox is actually like Rust compiled to WASM, and the entire database is running in WASM. Then you also have the kind of in-memory version, which is running in your Rust application, or it's running in your Python application, just like SQLite. Then you have key value stores like RocksDB and our own key value store, SurrealKV. Then you also have distributed engines. So primarily, it's based around a series of key value stores, but you can also use it in memory or as a memory server, WASM, all kinds of things.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. The other question, just I think it was an answer, but I'll just give you the chance if you want to say more. Bujra asked if you are using cousin similarity for measuring of similarities, which I think just showing that, but if you want to add anything on that.
Yes, you are in this case. Although if you go to the Surreal documentation, there are other options that are allowed in vector searching. So if I just go to vector search, here we go, vector functions, super easy to find. I'm using this cosine similarity. That's the one that I'm the most familiar with vector searching, but there's other ways that you can create distance and measure distance between, in arrays. So yeah, I'm familiar with a couple of them, but I'm by no means an expert. But I'll put this in the what's it called, the chat, and then you can have a play around with it.
Awesome, thank you. I think Katyani is the first one.
Yeah. Can I use SurrealDB with the .NET technologies, .NET framework?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Can I use .NET? Can I use SurrealDB for .NET? .NET application?
I'm not sure. Sorry.
Yep, we have a .NET SDK.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Zakshi.
Hey, I'm not sure, my question might be a bit repetitive in the past, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the specific use case where I would want to use SurrealDB.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was hoping you could shed more light on. When should, as a developer, I think of using SurrealDB instead of using a DB2 instance or just a Mongo instance that I might already be using? I guess what's the unique thing about it? I gather that it can support both. Is that the main item there?
So I think it depends what you're looking to get from it. So for me, for my specific project, I don't work at Surreal, so I'm using it for the specific project that it's the back end for. I really need to be able to use it for the graph aspects of it, but I also am dealing with big data. So in that case, basically, it's very useful to be able to do a more of a traditional query as well, because say I want to find all of the different ways that you might, as I said, code pneumonia, which is 40, say, different ways you could code it in the GP record. It's really useful to be able to filter, but then I also might want to find, diseases which are similar to each other. And so I need the graphing for that. So that for my specific use case, it's that. And it's also very helpful. It's obviously one database, and the fact that it's so fast is for me a big advantage when I'm dealing with lots and lots of data. So that's my specific use case. I don't know if that helps you at all.
Yeah, I have one follow-up questions regarding to relational database and NoSQL database. So if I'm using a mixture here, and what about transactions?
What about transactions?
Yes, so let's say, do we have transaction support considering if I'm talking about a full relational database? Or how does it work if I'm thinking about ACID transactions when I wanted to roll back and do all of that, for example?
So again, Alex might be able to give more, shed more light on this, but it's basically, it will provide an ACID transaction. So if you're using it like an SQL query, you'll get all of that benefit, and you can also like basically push data to like what would be a NoSQL thing and retrieve it. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can query the data. You might want to mix and match, but yeah, you'll get all of the benefits that you would normally get with a database. That if if something, I guess your point is if something messes up and it can't complete for some reason, it doesn't, sort of, it basically doesn't commit any data. I think that's kind of what you're saying. That is true, but you can also, there's not so many checks in some way. So you ran into one of them where you've run the same query again, and you ended up with a double set of celebrities, which, depending on how, you could still have that happen in a Postgres database, for example, if you made one of the fields not unique. But you might be more, you might do that sort of out of practice. So, there are sort of pros and cons there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can just add there that SurrealDB offers like full ACID compliance without any asterisks, which is like completely similar to a relational database. MongoDB claims it offers ACID compliance, but it's only single kind of like document or single collection. When you have like multi-document transactions, you have like a lot of asterisks attached to it. But in SurrealDB, it offers like full ACID compliance. So every query you send to SurrealDB is running in its own transaction.
Nice. Go, Madhuri.
I would like to extend Sakshi's question. I think I just wanted to clarify. I think what she was asking is probably still not answered, in the sense that if I am using MySQL database right now in production, what is my incentive to move to SurrealDB? I think that probably, because that's what we are doing right now. We are using MySQL database in production. And if I were to move, because we don't have NoSQL or anything, so what would be my incentive or motivation to move to SurrealDB? Is it the fast database, or what would be the what would be the motivation?
So I think it depends what your company does, and obviously the use case. I think just out of the box, the vector search and the document storage is really, really helpful. Obviously, that might not be something that you need right now. If you don't need that, I think the speed makes it worthwhile just on its own, because it's just so quick. But yeah, it obviously depends on what your domain is. Okay. For me, with the medical simulation software, we started it before SurrealDB was invented. We haven't switched it over at the moment. That might happen in the future, but the back end is built in Rust, so we're sort of, that's how we've got some of the speed basically benefits. But then when I came to this new project, I just decided to go straight for Surreal because you've got the speed, and I needed the graph and SQL and like query searching, and so it was an easy choice for me in that case.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. If you're doing multiple of those, then having everything under one umbrella in one database does make sense. Definitely, that is a big benefit there.
So with the medical simulation software at the moment in prod, we're maintaining MongoDB, Redis, and Postgres database, which is obviously like not really an ideal situation, and I regret that. So,
thank you.
I got one more question very quickly. So I'm assuming it's also like supports indexing as normal, like RDBMS does.
Yep, it supports a full range of indexes, including full text search indexes and vector indexing.
Okay, that makes sense, Alex. Another question I had was that, so if in a space like, because a lot of companies right now have gone all the way from RDBMS to Mongo, most companies are kind of like stuck between the two right now, like, you know, that migration never ended. In a situation like that, like, and I suppose, like, let's take financial services as an example. Do you think SurrealDB is like a good option to go towards? Like, because most of your database uses like transactional, right? You've got like storing like balances and accounts and payments. Was that something you would think that this SurrealDB's biggest strengths?
I think so. Sorry, simple answer.
Okay, thank you.
It's great when you don't necessarily know. I think I imagine for something like, I don't work in financial tech, so I'm imagining now as somebody who has a bank account what their problems might be. But I guess you don't always know, like you know, databases, like the traditional database, like a Postgres or SQL type database, it's you design it, and you design it with like what sort of queries you might have in mind. And I guess, you know, that is not always like with financial tech perhaps and other professions, like you don't always like know ahead of time what sort of queries you're gonna have. So it's probably useful for that because you can be a bit more flexible with Surreal, and it's so fast. So.
And I see, also, sorry, I'm asking so many questions. It's just like, because it's the first time I've heard of SurrealDB, so I'm just trying to like get my head around it.
Yeah, no worries. I'm looking confused because my mouse has died halfway through.
So we have a Celine for next one for the question. You can ask your question, Celine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thanks a lot, Caroline. It was really interesting for me, and I'm also ending up with a few questions here. Are we going to also cover a graph use case in our next talks, or is it on your agenda to also present?
We haven't exactly defined what the next specific topics are going to be, but it's going to be more about like Surreal's, like other features of Surreal. So yeah, I'm sure graphing will come up.
Okay. And the second question is that is there any benchmarking that we can just compare to see how SurrealDB is just acting in different use cases? It's I don't know. It seems that a lot of people are interested in using it in OLTP. I don't know. So for me, OLAP is much more interesting, which I'm using DocDB, for example. I just want to know that, is it really going to be a good move to just use SurrealDB there? So does it have any partitioning there, for example, or even does it make sense to have a partitioning for this kind of engine at the back end? And yeah.
Yeah, I think I can answer that. So benchmarking are coming now in November. So we spent a lot of time just making sure that we're doing fair benchmarking as they're multiple different models. In comparison to DocDB, if you're wanting real-time streaming, we tend to perform pretty similarly. If you want to learn large ad hoc queries on kind of like table-like data, then DocDB would be faster for that.
Okay. And the last questions, are you also available? I mean, can we find it on cloud services, for example, AWS, or are you planning to be there, or I don't know how it is going to work?
Yep, so we're launching our cloud service soon. So we're working on that at the moment. Currently, it's all self-hosted.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you, Alexander. I really appreciate you jumping in and answering some of the more technical questions. Okay, any other questions before we?
Yeah, we have 2 more as far as I can see. So Zaxi also asked, is this an open source? I can see on Google.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. And then I think now Bushra can go.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. I mean, it was wonderful, but I want to learn that you are working on more health data, right? So when you are working with this type of data, sometimes you want to use traditional statistical models, or so for this, SurrealDB is, fits for this type of traditional statistical analysis.
Mm-hmm.
At
Great
the beginning,
question.
you mentioned we can use also Python
Yes.
on it.
So there's a variety of ways that you can interact with SurrealDB. So you could use Python, for example. It doesn't have support for like MATLAB or something like that. Stata, kind of more of the traditional kind of old school statistical language. But the open source like Python would be very common. You can use. And then in terms of interacting with the data, you've got some options. I mean, like any database, you can pull out the data and then do your statistical analysis outside the database if that suits you. You can also write functions, so you can define functions in a programming language and then put them into the database so that you can then call that function within the database. That's a really nice approach because it means that you're not having to think about how do you write your function in SQL and then be like, is this correct? I'm not sure. You can just write it in your normal what you would use as long as it's supported. And then the other option is if you're using something like, I'm not someone who uses machine learning, but if you use machine learning and you are able to train a model, and the model can sit within Surreal, and then it can be interacted with in the same ways like you would interact with a function. So you've got a variety of different options.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I love having a med stats question. So if anyone has med stats questions, please send them my way.
Now I have a question. For example, so is it, as if I understood, then you say this is an open source project, right? And right now you can run and manage by yourself because there's still not a cloud provider for that. Is going to come later. But then what would be, let's say, if I want to talk to my manager and sell the idea about SurrealDB is amazing. What could be the main reason? Because of course, if I have to maintain that, it's a lot of work. So what will be in the case or in this specific case, consider that I will have to host and manage all of that. Is there still a good reason to use SurrealDB besides other technology that is already available on the other cloud providers? I don't know if my question is clear or is confused.
I'm sorry. So is your question, how do I convince my manager?
Yeah, I mean, it's more about, okay, this is an open source. What can you tell me for the long future? I know that soon is going to be a cloud provider, but if I want to use that for a real life production environment, how can I think that as like a real use case? And like, if I think about big tables, I know already there is it's Google, it's on the cloud and so on. But now I'm thinking about SurrealDB as a next technology for that. So what would be the good truth, or how I can convince and how I could say it's good to add as a new technology into the company.
So I think if I've understood it, the main says like, how do I convince my manager, like, why should I be interested in using this? It's an open source project. So I think, you know, the fact it is open source is helpful because you can self-host. You can then scale up to using Surreal Cloud when it comes online, which is imminent. And, you know, so I personally, just for my small project, I use it in Docker, which, you know, is very easy to use. You can prototype stuff in Surrealist. You can also blow stuff out to the cloud or self-host it on a server somewhere. So I think you've got options. And I guess if you're working for a company where they want to start small, as people do, you can then build up from there. You can build up from, you know, running it on Docker on a server, then scaling it out, and then maybe eventually ending up on the cloud. Surreal Cloud, or, you know, maybe you can host it.
Okay. So thank you. So anyone has a last question? Okay, so I guess that's a no. Thank you, Caroline, for the talk, Alexander also, and everyone for the amazing questions that we had here today. I guess based on that, we are going to discuss in our next sessions, and we can dive in different topics. Please share your feedback about the meeting, and you can also register for the next 2 sections that we are going to happen soon. Thank you, everyone. So see you in the next one.
See ya. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. It